If you're in your 40s and you're eating the same, you're working out, you're doing everything the same, but you're still gaining weight, then this episode is for you. Hi, I'm Lutricia Bennett. I am a nurse practitioner, and I've been a nurse practitioner since 2006. I spent the first 9 years in critical care medicine, and then I have owned my own aesthetic and wellness clinic since 2014. I specialize in hormones, weight loss, metabolism, as well as aesthetics. And I help women and men figure out what's going on with their bodies, especially in midlife. Today, we're talking about why so many women gain weight in midlife, even if they're doing everything that they've always done incorrect. This is so confusing for women, and I hear it every day in clinic, in the weight loss side as well as the hormone side. So they come in and they say, hey, I am 40-some, 50-some years old. I've always been small. I've always been active, and even those that weren't active, and I've never gained weight. But now I have this pudge in my belly, and I cannot get rid of it. Women blame themselves, and they start doing extra cardio many times. They start starving themselves, and it just gets worse. They feel worse. They're still gaining weight in the midsection and making no progress. And I always say this, us women can make it through a lot of stuff. We can put up with so many different things, but once you can't get the weight off, once it gets to the point to where you're like, I cannot make any progress whatsoever, then that's when we get really frustrated and realize we need help. And I always say this, us women can make it through a lot of stuff. We can put up with so many different things, but once you can't get the weight off, once it gets to the point to where you're like, I cannot make any progress whatsoever, then that's when we get really frustrated and realize we need help. Before we figure out how to fix it, you have to know why it happens. So, number one, hormonal changes many times are going to drive this weight gain. So we have a lot of estrogen fluctuations, so our estrogen is kind of going up and down during the perimenopause period. And because of that, we have changes in our insulin resistance, and we also have a lot of changes in things that we're craving, what we love to eat. We also have some progesterone decline. That declines then, and that causes a good bit of swelling as well as change in our cravings as well. The hormonal fluctuations can cause a rise in the cortisol, and it's also going to cause a rise in insulin resistance. These two things also contribute to belly fat distribution. They're going to make it harder to lose weight, make it to the point to where if you work harder, it's only going to cause an increase in the fat around your belly. With the decrease in your testosterone that also occurs, you are going to have a decrease in your metabolism. Now, there's a few different mechanisms of action as to why that happens. So with the testosterone decrease, you are going to notice that you're more tired, so you're going to be less likely to work out. You're also going to have more afternoon fatigue, which is unfortunately the many times when most of us work out. But the other thing that happens is that you are going to start to lose muscle mass. When you lose muscle mass, your metabolism drops, okay? The more muscle you have, the higher the metabolism. So you are going to have a change in your body fat ratio. Your body fat percentage is going to go up. So even if you're the same weight, you are going to have a higher body fat percentage, which causes your metabolism to be lower, even if your weight has never changed. That can also cause an increase in weight gain. Now, I want to say this here. Us as women make more testosterone in our lifetime than we do estrogen. Okay, so it is just as important of a hormone, and it really dramatically influences our metabolism. Now, as we all know, during our perimenopause period and menopause, we lose the ability to have a really good night's sleep. That is partially due to a testosterone decline and a progesterone decline. But nonetheless, it causes our cortisol levels to rise, okay? With also a decreased sleep, we tend to crave things that are not so good for us. And again, that when we sleep, that is when our growth hormone increases. With an increase in the growth hormone, then you are going to have repair of your body systems at night. But also it resets your body and resets your metabolism, okay? It actually helps you build muscle. That's when we do all of our muscle building and repair is nighttime when we sleep. If we're not sleeping, none of those processes are taking place. Okay, so what I see happen in clinic a lot is women will come in, men too, but a lot of women, and they have been starving themselves. Well, it's slightly backfired because what happens is they're going to have to diet harder and harder and drop their calories more and more as they lose muscle. So with normal dieting, then you're going to see a dramatic loss in muscle mass. I don't care how you do it, whether it be with GLP-1s, whether it be with dieting exercise. If you're not monitoring your biometrics, meaning your muscle mass and fat, then you're most likely going to be losing muscle. And so we have a biometric machine in our office, an in-body machine. That machine tells us how much fat and muscle the patient has, where it's distributed. It tells us how much body water. It does not do a very good job at differentiating between muscle and bone, which we can go down that path if we want to, but you also have a lot of bone loss true in perimenopause, menopause, and when you diet and you don't diet the right way, then you're most likely going to be losing bone as well as muscle. Now, all of that being said, when you lose muscle, just like I said before, you're going to have a drop in that metabolism. So women come in and and I will see them and their muscle will be terrible. So what happens then? So many patients end up gaining their weight back because they have not been watching their intake and they have been losing muscle because they have not been prioritizing that protein. The protein is the only thing that can preserve your muscle during a weight loss cycle. Not only that, it's really good for our metabolism. Our metabolism has to rev up anytime that we eat protein. Our protein intake goes up and our metabolism goes with it because, again, the body has to rev up in order to break that down. Okay? So in order to prevent a slower metabolism during weight loss, you have to prioritize that protein. Now, the way that we usually do it is that we will base the protein intake when the patient first comes in off of the amount of fat-free mass the patient has in their body. So that means that we are going to take the amount of fat-free mass, which is body water, bone, organs, muscle, okay? Everything that's not fat. So you take that number and we say, for example, let's say mine is 95. So I would need to take in 95 grams of protein per day. So then we will put that into a macro-based diet is going to look like this. It's going to have 35% protein, 35% carbs. Yes, you can eat carbs. And 30% fat. Now, those last two are equally as important as the protein. So in my case, let's say my biometrics said I needed to eat 95 grams of protein a day. Then I would also need to eat 95 grams of carbs. Now, the carbs are going to be good carbs, okay? We really love for you to have good carbs. Maybe not in the very beginning, but eventually I would really love for you to have a good carb. So with those good carbs, okay, that is going to make sure that our cortisol levels don't spike, all right, and it's going to give us energy. So the fat portion of that, again, is equally as important, like I said before, because it is also going to do a very, very good job of managing our cortisol levels and helping keep us full. Now, the other portion of this is shifting the workouts. Now, us as women, we were never taught strength training in high school. We never really played, some of us did, but sports to where being very muscular was really emphasized, okay? So we weren't really taught how to consume adequate amounts of protein, and then definitely not taught how to strength train, okay? Now, as we get older, that becomes so important because it's going to help us maintain our muscle mass and maintain our bone. Those two things, as we age, we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, are very, very important to keeping us young, healthy, and preventing fractures, okay? So, strength training does not have to be an hour-long a day. Studies show 15 to 20 minutes is adequate. And for me personally, it was very, very, very hard to step away from running, which I love dearly. But I will say this, I am probably in better shape than I've ever been just for simply working in that strength training. So strength training is a must. It doesn't have to consume you. It can be 15 minutes a day and doesn't even have to be every day. I am not a trainer, but I will tell you, your body does need a break of 1 to 2 days to rest and recover and actually build muscle. Managing stress and sleep. Now, that is also super important, not as easily done as the other two, I feel like. So your sleep has to become a priority. Now, again, hormonal fluctuations can cause a change in sleep. Magnesium glycinate helps dramatically at night. I usually recommend most of my patients take it for their poop as well as their sleep. And that starting dose is around 240 milligrams. I have some on 500 to 600 milligrams, but do not go up to that level unless you have okayed that with your provider, okay? Now, as far as the sleep goes, in addition to that, progesterone is really great at helping sleep. So sometimes getting that under your belt also helps, and a small amount of melatonin. And I always tell patients, you got to get your labs checked. You could have some sort of nutritional deficiency, like as a vitamin D deficiency, B12 deficiency. Those things can cause major problems with the ability to lose weight and the way that you're feeling and your other hormones. And some patients also do really, really well with getting on hormone replacement therapy. There was a recent study that came out that showed that hormone replacement therapy combined with GLP-1s resulted in better and more prolonged weight loss. Now, GLP-1s is a whole other, we're going to talk about that maybe the next episode or the next. We can talk about those and how they affect weight loss. They're really great for perimenopausal women in the simple, but they have to be done correctly. There's a lot of GLP-1 abuse out there, and I've seen it in my clinic. But with the GLP-1, they really dramatically help with insulin resistance. And that is one of the major driving factors as to perimenopausal weight gain, which is why, we see on average about a 30-pound weight gain in perimenopause, and that's average. I have patients come in with a 70-pound weight gain. So it happens, and again, it's multifactorial, but the insulin resistance does play a big part, and again, GLP-1's agonist, actually, is what they're called, but they do dramatically help with it. So again, when used correctly and when patients still get enough protein in and they are monitored, their biometrics are monitored, they are very, very, very good tools for weight loss. And to summarize, perimenopause weight gain does not occur because you were doing something wrong. It's just your body needs a different strategy. I really hope this helped. Tune in to our next episode. I'm going to discuss GLP-1s. We're going to dive further into some of the hormonal problems. And then I would love to do an episode coming up on skin and why that is dramatically affected with hormonal changes as well. Please follow along. We're going to continue to improve this channel. I'm going to do some interviews with my colleague, Misty Wright, who is also a nurse practitioner, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.